oh, there's been an error on the invoice. The bill, instead of X, is X plus Y. And I said, gee, why is that? And they said, well, Mr. and Mrs. Norton checked out, and they gave a time, they said at 1 o'clock. And our checkout time is at 12, so we've charged an extra day.
Mm.
Well, very cleverly I said, oh, but I confirmed that with your people. We actually had packed up everything and left all the stuff there, the suitcases, and they said that was okay. No, they said, no, that's who to speak with. Well, I didn't have a clue in the world who I spoke with. I might say this was a few weeks later. And
Spoke with Luigi?
yeah, and Terry had given some pretty handsome tips, as was his wont. Anyhow, this person acting for the Grand Hotel did the hard line on me and said, well, we expect a check from you in the sum of such and such, you know, by tomorrow at 6 o'clock or something like that. And because I booked it. And I went through all the accounts, and suddenly 16 light bulbs went off in my head. Guess what?
Who's that?
They had not charged for this whacking great dinner at the Maraschino restaurant. I was on the phone to Terry, and Terry said, oh, pay the thing. Pay the bloody thing. Pig's arse to them. Everything was pig's arse. Bloody eye ties. And so here was this thumping great dinner that we had, and they hadn't even charged it. And I remember that now, that I ordered that locally in Rome, and they probably didn't understand my writing, or something like that.
I still can't understand your writing.
And we had, I remember ordering some thunderously expensive wine. So I spoke with Terry. Terry wanted to. He didn't want any embarrassment on his brother, and he was essentially, you know, a very honest sort of guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I called up these people and said, you're charging for this extra hour, which I'm telling you was approved. You're charging, and you're a suite too, magnificent suite. You're charging this to Mr. and Mrs. Norton. And yes, we're doing that. I hope you realise that Mr. Norton is the principal of Norton and Archer lawyers in Australia, and you'd have to maybe see them. And he's not too happy about this. Well, you're going to have... I said, well, I'm instructed to tell you by Mr. Norton that he's a very honest man. Yes, well, we'll pay up. I said, he has noticed, and the order of magnitude was something like this. The room, and bear in mind this is 68, 69 prices. We owe you for the room at the Grand something like about $500 for the suite, if you're going to charge the full day. And but you people have neglected to charge us for the dinner, which was around about 2,000. It was about 4 times as much. What dinner? We had a dinner there. We haven't got a record of dinner. Well, I'm telling you, we had a dinner. Actually, I think Terry said the suite was more like 200. So it was under 1,000 for the dinner. And the phone went hot. And they couldn't find any record. We'll call you back, and and a few days later they called back. Actually, they sent a telex to me at the BIM. and they wanted to know who the waiter was and this, that, and the other. I didn't have a clue. And so I said, you know, we're honest people. We'll pay for that dinner. I have the bill for the dinner, and but you have to subtract the cost of the hotel suite. And with great spluttering they did. Yeah, they didn't thank me for any honesty or anything like that. Terry wanted to clear it. I wouldn't have. I was all for saying, okay, we'll pay you for that. Bastards. They were pretty rough. I wouldn't have liked to have been there though at the checkout if they had both bills. Yeah, they would have wanted their blood. But that was great fun. Oh, the money was spent. Money was spent. But yeah, that Kath and Terry always maintained, because they entertained my father for weeks and weeks on end with stories of that trip. And Kath always saw it as the greatest trip of her lifetime. And to his end, before he got old, you know, he died, how he died. And he liked Mum a great deal. Oh, Kath and Terry, they were big Mama fans. And I think it was the first time Mum had ever had sheer luxury shoved upon her. And, yeah, it was rather nice then. Rather nice. You know, these were, I must say, that a lot of my father's friends, and my mother's friends, they were very nice people. Very nice. But none of Terry didn't particularly like Ireland, as it turns out. Didn't particularly like it. But he certainly liked the Hoth Tavern. He spent a great night there with Mum's uncle, Jack. They got on like a house on fire. Oh. And both smoked. And both got absolutely sozzled. There was a tavern in Hoth in those days, a singing tavern. And they'd have all sorts, yeah, Clancy's were there, all sorts of people. And, yeah. Well, that was a very successful Santamillion, Thomas. What did they say about the Cardinal's Palace?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Very good?
Didn't look it up.
Oh, that was good. Well, there we are. You can have a holiday there sometime. But all the holidays, that was one of the good ones. And one of the good ones, oh, Terry. When we went to Lourdes, Terry insisted as an article of Catholic faith that we should have Bollinger champagne. Oh, that's weird.
I always love that story you had about, who said it was some fellow who had some workman's compensation claim as to why he couldn't work, but he said he'd gone to Lourdes.
A miracle.
That's a pretty good one.
That's a true story, yeah. And many's the lad who's... but there have been the official church, they have a centre there, manned by doctors. John Moll was involved with them. And, you know, John's a serious man, and most the conditions that they put down for miracles are so strict.
Last time I checked, John wasn't a medical doctor, though.
No, but the process. Yeah. The process is such. For example, if you go to Lourdes and you say, I've just had a miracle, they then look at the records of the doctor in Toronto or Moose Jaw or wherever it is. And for a miracle to be a miracle, it has to be instant. You can't be under any medication. Yeah, there are a lot of very strict rules about that. The famous one of Peter de Rudder that was attested by Alexis Carrel, who won the Nobel Prize for Medicine. involved the instantaneous growth of 2 inches of bone. And as Carroll said, to have that much salt and minerals in your body to produce 2 inches of bone would kill you.
Hmm.
But you know, there aren't too many miracles.
Yeah.
And now the people who are cynical about these miracles say that such was the fervour that is induced at the time that there's some instantaneous reaction in the body to do various things. I can't see that. But miracles which people have claimed miracles which are psychological, and they're not accepted. There's got to be a physical component.
Oh, it's not just like I was
I had
depressed.
depression, and I'm now good. I'm now a clown.
Yeah.
You know, it's but there are doctors, real live doctors who assess all these things, and there are very few. But the ones there are some which are pretty impressive, and a number of the doctors who do the assessing are not Catholic, and some of them are even atheists who are doing research. There are several books on this. The Church is always very sceptical of miracles, and even to this day, the so-called miracles in Medjugorje. Have you heard of Medjugorje in Yugoslavia?
No.
Yeah, well, that took hold of a lot of people back in the 70s, 80s, and that sort of thing. Even today, the Catholic Church has never declared on the acceptability of these miracles, and their view is that there are too many shady edges, and so it doesn't fulfill the bill. And as Father Gahagan said, he said, I prefer to rely upon the Gospels, etc., 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 than the ramblings on of people, at various places. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. Some of these people are a bit wet-hennish,
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that the whole matter about Padre Pio, who had the stigmata, what the stigmata is, there have been people who have been bashing away at that for 50 years, and they don't seem to be able to break what happened. And you see a number of non-believing scientists have said that this spontaneous bleeding that comes in the hands and the sides and the wounds and so on is psychosomatic. And then there are scientists who say, well, you couldn't exist if that happened. Now, I don't want you to think that is stigma. You may want to claim that, Thomas. It's near the vein. Quick, bring up the Pope. We've got a winner here, Tom.
Yeah.
And Father Gahagan was always very sceptical of miracles in current times, and unless they are attested, that's the problem, getting them attested. But John Moll was very taken. He was what they call, he went there as a Bremcardia. A Bremcardia, where these are the people who carry the people on the stretchers. And he was pretty impressed by things. And he was impressed as well by an undercurrent of disbelief amongst a number of the people.
Mm.
He wasn't there for any miracle, but he certainly saw a lot of faith. There we are there. Well, I'm glad you like Mr. Centimillion's product.
Yeah.
No, you can't go.
I think they have a future in winemaking.
These could be the boys. But that's, you know, when you think of it, when we go to the John A. McDonald, it really jars me. I don't like going there too much now. You know, it's $9 for a glass of wine. Rotgut. And then tax, and then tip, you know?
Mm.
So, you know, that is at $12, right?
Yeah, beer wasn't that expensive though.
No, but this
By
at the John
pub
A.
standards, yeah.
Well, I think no, the beer's not too bad. No, 6.5.
That's not bad for craft beer.
Yeah, but anyhow, the wine really bugs me, and you might as well get a good. I mean, this is $17, right?
Yeah,
Well, that's 2 glasses of wine at you know.
Less than that.
Yeah. Well, you want to go to bed? You can
Well,
have a good.
I was just gonna ask you more questions. So,
But if you're having trouble about money, let us know.
well, you know,
I've got those coins, those 25 cents in the tin, which were meant for St. Teresa's. Can put them in with the bubble doll. Gee, that's hilarious.
so is it Frank that made it?
Oh yeah,
They
yeah.
made it up, yeah.
Yeah, I have a funny little comment. They said they're made in the sweatshops and workshops of China.
I wonder how they're doing.
But well, I hope Michael survives. What he finds out, twice now, stories that have come out on Frank have been picked up by the Globe, but no reference to Frank. And they've been picked up, you know, several hours later. So that's going to be the currency. And the other thing is that, you know, this is not a literature reading community.
No, political literacy, I think, in general is
She beats me.
pretty low.
In Ireland, they have the Phoenix, a piddling population of, what, 5 million, and they're like 20,000, 30,000 copies every fortnight. It's a very high-class publication in terms of printing, colour, and that thing. And Frank is about 1,500 in a population as big as this.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And private eye.
But Frank, the East Coast version does really well.
They do well.
They have much more of a
local stuff.
political culture, though,
Yeah.
I think, in the East
I think
Coast.
so.
I'm surprised it doesn't do well in BC.
I know the guy who runs the one in Halifax. Andrew Graham is his name. Nice character. And but he was not doing very, very well. And then this fellow who's well off, an investor in Montreal, put in money. So, but with an election coming up, they've had some pretty amusing stuff on Mrs. Wynne and on Mrs. Howard.
Oh yeah, what do they have about her?
Apparently she's a bit of a stumbler, and she doesn't speak very well and doesn't address people very well, and she's not all impressive as selling a message. So
I suppose there could be worse things.
But I mentioned
I
that.
was, by Frank standards, I was not expecting that. I was expecting.
Well, I think that this was, this is rather sad. Hudak is a stumbler, and he doesn't seem to be have hold of his brief.
Oh, you meant Hudak, not
Hudak and
okay.
Mrs. Howard, yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not impressive people. So it's no wonder, but and Mrs. Wynne, of course, they've had a few cracks at her with her gay friend, which may be unfair. They're personal choices.
Yeah.
But it's very hard for us to believe that she didn't know what McGinty was doing. And it's equally
And
hard.
yet, it's hard to totally fault, you know, I mean, as a cabinet minister, I don't know. I suppose she could have resigned if she really hated it.
And the other one is that Trudeau's lad, who's directing things, is this fellow Jerry Butts, who had been McGinty's principal secretary.
Oh, right.
They had a few attacks. Well, you've got a fellow with a stained record.
Yeah. I have a thing about, was it Maggie Trudeau's, the ex-Mr. Maggie Trudeau? He's now Justin Trudeau's, one of his main advisors. Can't remember the guy's name, but he's a real estate agent in Ottawa.
Oh, yes.
And there was some small piece in Frank
Yeah.
about how he was saying, Justin's not the brightest guy in the world. And,
Well, Patrick.
which is hardly news. I mean,
Yeah.
you see any interview with the guy, you get that impression.
Well, Patrick knows him very well, and has known Patrick and his wife are old-time friends of Margaret Trudeau.
Patrick
O'Donnell. And Patrick said that it used to be quite sad that those kids would come from a week spent with Trudeau and they hadn't been fed and the clothes would be shabby and all sorts of things, and he was pretty cruel to them. And, but in a recent issue, Michael mentions that the relationship between Deborah Coyne, Trudeau's mistress, with whom he had the baby,
Right.
it's rather sad, really. You feel that, well, when Deborah Coyne, according to her book, when she found she was pregnant, she went to Trudeau. And here's this great Catholic lad, Trudeau, and said, well, do you want an abortion? Do you want to keep it? And she said, yes. She said, oh, well, I'll support you. But a very odd thing to ask for someone who pretended to be that way, the great Catholic lad. And but the will, and Patrick told me this before Michael mentioned it in Frank, but the will was such that all power and authority was given to Alexandra Trudeau in Montreal, and not to Justin Trudeau, because he was considered by his dad to be a bit of an airhead. And Patrick was telling me this a couple of years ago. And,
What's Alexandra Trudeau doing?
well, he's a bit of a hard lad, and he apparently, according to Michael, doesn't want any relationship with Deborah Coyne or the kid. Sorry, I'm wrong there. Margaret Trudeau doesn't want any relationship between Deborah Coyne and the estate. And apparently Sacha Trudeau is only slightly of that view, a bit more generous. And Justin Trudeau would like to have a relation. And apparently the daughter is terribly smart and did extremely well at the Wharton Business School, and is now with Goldman Sachs. And, it is odd, there's a whole relationship which is fundamentally very sad, and Trudeau himself, was, according to Patrick, and, Gregory and I were up, you remember, I don't know whether you were with me, but we're up on the hill when Trudeau died, and the Mounties were telling us, some Mounties there, quite openly, that Trudeau was gay, was bisexual. And I've heard that from Mounties, and Bert sort of hinted at it because he's very discreet. Very strange people. Conflicted people. But I would never have liked Trudeau. I thought he was an awful man, And that statement of his, people joke about when he said, "Oh, you MPs, you're nobodies 50 yards from the House of Commons." But that was a cynical way of looking at elected government. And he was a tyrant. And my way or the highway was his, which was the reason that John Turner resigned, apart from reasons of ambition. But he left the government, as finance minister. A very difficult man. I'm not all that grabbed by Trudeau. And I remember that one of Mike Masarywicz's great friends was the founder of the Club of Rome, Aurelio Pache, and he was, of course, a bit of a wacko environmentalist, but that was said for your benefit. But a very beautiful man, he was the boss of Olivetti and all sorts of things. And he said to me, well, we had our big meeting. He told me this at the Royal York Hotel. He wasn't interested in meeting Trudeau. And Trudeau and Pitfield had come to this enormous meeting in Vienna. And he said, we arrived on the train, and I had carrying my suitcase. This is Pache. He's relating it all. And I'm trying to think of this enormous person in Italian industry, just escapes me at the moment. He had a motor car factory and all sorts of things. There's a special train to Vienna, but they were carrying their own luggage. And then he said Trudeau turned up with a great pile of lackeys with his luggage and this, that, and the other thing. And we were talking on the environment and, living simpler and all. So we could never take him seriously after that. And Mike Masarowicz told me that Trudeau was blackballed for membership of the Club of Rome back in those days. They thought he was too fancy. But on the other hand, and here it is, you see, you'll be told from this day on to the end of the world that Trudeau was this enormous intellectual, with a sharp mind and the smartest man in the world. And that wasn't the view of the Europeans. And they didn't like him. I remember Mike telling me that, and Aurelio Pache. They found him to be very immodest. Now, and if you, in any memory that you have with Mike, he was a pretty genial sort of a character for a man who was at the top of his trade, And, they were not given to great boasts of being the smartest man in the world. This was part of the Canadian mythology that Trudeau was this great lion of destiny, the great intellectual. And apparently, in John Chrétien's book, there's a telling. Chrétien is sitting next to Trudeau, and he says, "I'm very nervous because Trudeau's such a brilliant man. I look outside and I see the rain. I said, oh, it's raining outside." And Trudeau said, this is in Chrétien's book, "Well, it would hardly be raining inside." Turned his head and got back into his book. Well, most of us, I think, would think, oh, you smart ass, But there are thousands of anecdotes like that.
Mm.
Now, he didn't get on with Margaret Thatcher. I happen to know that because she responded to him in the way that he responded to others. And she was a pretty smart woman then. She had her primary degree was in chemical engineering and that sort of thing,
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Then she went into law. Smart rooster and smart hen. Yeah. But it's kind of interesting because Patrick is Patrick O'Donnell, he obviously doesn't like Trudeau. And so he's obviously a bit prejudiced, And he had some run-ins. And he was told once, "You're being disrespectful." Patrick is an Irish lawyer, barroom guy, that sort of thing, you know, and used to, you know, you used to get in Irish politics with Prime Minister Lynch and that sort of, you know, used to saying to, because, you know, Ireland was, you used to meet the Prime Minister in Ireland and all the, I used to go out with Michael O'Leary and, you know, go to pubs and that sort of thing. He was Minister for Labour. And, you know, also, Minister, you're talking BS, you know, and people were very, very forthright about it.
Mm.
So Patrick was told, you know, you can't talk that way, it's true. And, well, Patrick wasn't used to that, you know, a spade, but that was part of Irish debate, you know. And so you know, he's a bit jaundiced. Now, I actually think it's not a bad idea for people to be able to talk directly with their member of parliament and with their leaders and say, hey, that's not a runner, that's not an idea. There were things that, one of the things which appalls me now when I think of all this Boko Haram in Nigeria is that, you see, I was very much on the side of Biafra in Nigeria. Trudeau's response, smart-ass he was, when asked about the war, Biafra said, where's that? And didn't answer more questions. Now, his concern was that the secession of Biafra would be an encouragement to Quebec. But Biafra in Nigeria was under extraordinary threat from the Northerners, always was after independence. And they only saw that they needed to have the security, because even in those days, northern Nigeria had Sharia law and customary law, you know, and Christians in Biafra didn't want that. And these, the Yoruba were Anglican, the Ibu were mainly Catholic.
And I hear they really like Guinness in Nigeria.
Oh, they like it. They think that's... but it's terrible sad. And it's awfully sad that people... We better wrap this up.